So now we're going to do a very short meditation. This is called Three Treasures Breathing. Basically, I'll ring the bell, and then everyone just take a moment, take 3 nice, long, deep breaths. You know, to have human life is a great gift, and as long as we're breathing, we have this gift. So just take these 3 breaths and just think for a moment about it. Be grateful for this opportunity to have this moment together. Most Buddhist traditions have some sort of ceremony to commemorate the point when someone makes a commitment to a spiritual path. And different cultures and traditions do this in different ways. In Japanese Mahayana Buddhism, this includes head shaving, which represents the moment when Siddhartha Gautama resolved to enter the spiritual life. And so he drew his knife and he cut his long hair. And if we were in Japan, there might be a fancy ceremonial razor for this purpose. But we have a razor. Hold that up so everybody can see it. That razor's been in my family for more than 100 years. And when I was inducted in ministry at Bright Dawn, Reverend Kabose had this razor that his family had brought over with them from Japan. And I was telling him about this, and he goes, "Oh, that would be perfect. You should use that." So this is the razor that we use for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some chanting together, and this is actually the moment of taking refuge. And then as we do this, Michelle's going to be coming around doing this head shaving thing, and as she puts a ceremonial cloth around everybody's shoulders, and then she touches the razor to their heads. And at that moment, you should be thinking about that's your time of renunciation. This is your entry into the spiritual path. So, just say after me. So, to begin, we'll do the homage to the Buddha. So, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa.
You do this as we say the refuge vow. So, and if any of you have gone to refuge, you are welcome to say this refuge, the chanting the verses with them. So just repeat after me, one line at a time. Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranam Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranam Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
So you go for refuge, and in our tradition, in the Bright Dawn tradition, when you go for refuge, you get a Dharma name. This is a special name that hopefully becomes sort of your true name. You don't have to stop using the name that you got. It's a legal name, and I still use mine. But think about this as sort of your spiritual name. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens when you go for refuge first. You know, we all go for refuge all the time. Some of us go for refuge to jobs, some of us go for refuge to relationships, some people go for refuge to drugs, or to cigarettes, or alcohol, or television, all these things that we go to refuge for. We look at these things as outlets to help us escape from our stress, or as paths to happiness. And some of these things are fine a lot of the time, but eventually these material things tend to wear thin, and some of them actually become not a refuge, they actually create more stress. And so at some point in your spiritual life, you realize that there's a better way to live. And so we go for refuge to the Buddha. Buddha's not the guy who died 2,500 years ago. Buddha is enlightenment. Buddha is awakening. So when you go for refuge to the Buddha, yes, there's this person that the statue's modeled after. He did certain things that you and I can do, achieve something that you and I could achieve. So that's the Buddha that you go to refuge to. You go to refuge to the Dharma. Dharma is a path of practice. It's the instructions he left behind. These are the things that you can do to achieve what I achieved, to achieve this liberation. Dharma also means absolute truth. So as you practice, you become closer to realizing that's absolute truth. As you meditate, as you put the precepts into practice and all of that, you begin to transcend the sort of duality, the me and them duality, and you start to realize that your happiness and the happiness of all beings is interrelated. So that's also the Dharma that you're going to refuge to. And you go for refuge to the Sangha. On one level, Sangha is the teachers who have kept this practice available to you. The Buddha taught people who taught people who taught people, and now about 84 generations down the line, here I am to help you through this refuge ceremony. So that's Sangha. Also, though, Sangha is the examples of people who have done what you want to do. They heard the Buddha's teachings, they put the Dharma into practice, they realized the fruits of the practice. So they're your examples, they're your inspiration. Sangha is also your spiritual community, these people right here. You're here to support one another in your practice. But as Mahayana Buddhists, Sangha is also all living beings. We recognize that we're not practicing for our own sake. You can't become enlightened if you're selfish. Your happiness depends on the happiness of all other beings. The happiness of other beings depends on your happiness. So your spiritual community is all living things. So that's what you've gone for refuge to. So Dharma names now, hopefully these will become teachings for you. They each gave me a little spiritual autobiography, a little write-up that said, here's why I want to go for refuge, here's how I got to this point. And then I look at these things and I kick ideas around with Koyo Kabose sometimes and stuff like that, and we come up with what we think expresses this point in their lives. But use these as teachings. Hopefully these things will continue to open up to you. They'll continue to inspire you in your practice. I'll tell you what I think they mean. 10 years from now, you probably have a bunch of other meanings for the same thing. All right? So, start with you, John, because I wrote this in alphabetical order. You spoke of a relationship between yourself and other significant people in your life, and talked about these relationships becoming really strong bonds, having great empathy. And you mentioned your realization of the close connection between yourself and and others, and the connection between all things. And that led to your interest in Buddhism, and ultimately to start coming to these meetings. And this realization of how closely related you were to others helped you transcend some difficulties. And so because of this understanding of your oneness with all beings, your Dharma name is Ichigo, which means one sun. I should have mentioned in Bright Dawn, all our Dharma names end in Yo, which means sun or light. So Yo, meaning enlightenment, you know, the light of liberation. So my Dharma name is Sekyo, which means stone sun. Okay. So everybody has a Yo. Janet, as I was reading your spiritual autobiography, I was reminded of one of the great Thai masters who reportedly would say that looking for inner peace is futile. He'd say, look as hard as you want, you won't find it. But if you open up to it, it will find you. And I thought about this while I was reading about your path, because it seemed like you'd spent a lot of time seeking a path, but not by focusing here and there like a searchlight, but more in the way the sun shines on everything. And then some things kind of shine back brighter than others. So your Dharma name is Soyo, seeking sun. Dan, Zen Master Dogen, the patriarch of Soto Zen, rather famously said that to study the Buddha is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. And I thought about that while I was reading about how you incorporate the arts into your spiritual path. You know, an artist, as they work, tends to kind of forget their self. They become so absorbed into the work sometimes that they lose themselves. And in the process of transcending the ego, they really open up to a deeper creativity. So your spiritual life, I think, is another creative process like that. And so your Dharma name is Kuyo, ceramic sun. Michael, you talked about using gardening, native plants, and things like that as an approach to spiritual practice. And about seeing the Dharma in your relationship with plants and with the natural world. You know, the Buddha once told a farmer that he too was a plowman. He said, faith is the seed, practice the rain, and wisdom is my yoke and plow. And when one has plowed this plowing, one is released from all suffering. But I was thinking about the word plant and how it can refer to something that grows when it's nurtured, the way practice grows, bears fruit when it's nurtured. But it can also refer to the act of sowing seeds so that they will grow and ripen later. So your Dharma name is Sayo, plant sign. All right, so we'll do the affirmation of vows now. Ichiyo, Soyo, Kuyo, Sayo. Do you undertake the training precept not to kill or harm other beings? Just read that.
I vow to respect. I vow to respect my life. I vow to protect my life and necessary destruction of my life. I vow to not physically relate to animal or living thing.
Do you undertake the training precept not to take what is not freely given?
I vow to respect that which belongs to others. Take nothing that is not freely given. All that is given to me by honor and reciprocity.
Do you undertake the training precept not to abuse or exploit others?
I vow to respect my body and the bodies of others. I vow to be conscious of my actions towards self and others. I vow to be aware of the suffering that may be caused when others are involved in satisfying my wishes. I vow to be children of love, patience, and gentleness.
Do you undertake the training precept to use speech carefully?
I vow to be truthful and speak out about injustice. I vow to respect that which speaks to me in honor, and I will share confidence. I vow to be sincere and be keep commitments.
Do you undertake the training precept not to cloud your mind?
I vow to not allow opportunity to be warm without consciousness or aim. In keeping with this vow, I vow to live with mindfulness and to abstain from that which causes me to suffer suffering of myself and others. I vow to cultivate a life
Please strive to increase your understanding of the teachings of the Buddha, to take refuge in the three treasures, to remember, to understand the Four Noble Truths, to follow the Eightfold Path, cultivate the 6 paramitas, and to live by the 5 daily life guidelines.
I will.
In that case. Do you want to? You want to help? Are you going to take pictures?
Mhm.
In that case,
Mark's
I
here.
stand up. My husband never do the standing up part for me, so that's all right. I can stand.
You need to get closer. I can't catch you.
Huh?
You need to get either closer or
Closer?
down. Yeah. So in Buddhism, we realize that when we do something good, we get a good result. And so we've all done a lot of good today. They did good by going for refuge. You did good by participating in this and supporting them in this way. And so we don't hang on to the results of the good for ourselves. We share it with all beings. And so we'll end this by doing the dedication of merit together. And we'll do the Pali and then the English. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukajivino katam punya palamayam sabe baki bhavantu. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share the blessings that spring from the good of your time. If you give them a hand. And if anybody wants to, you can make a water offering. I can stand up first.
The first time I saw the Buddha being washed like this was at Shwedagon Pagoda.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really slick way for them to get like all their statues washed. So you're a yellow also? That's cool. That's very cool. That's a cool last name. Yeah. Yo, congratulations. Oh, you did it?
Any questions?
You do plants up there. I think this is your season.
Tell Philip I said hello.
Did you get that work out okay? Look, crooked, is that
Going to start.
feel that it is? Okay, okay. Good. Okay. Okay, thanks.
We can talk about this one
Good conversation.
Very excited.
Great to go. Be around.
So you want to put your hands together like